a guy that's on his way in, that's looking for a new situation, is Justin Fields. And there are a lot of landing spots that people have been talking about when it pertains to Justin Fields. One thing we got to keep in mind that whichever team trades for him also has to kind of look into giving him a second contract because he is on the final year of his deal. Now, when you look at all these landing spots that he could go to, which one do you think is the best? Riv, you're a Fields guy.
Huge Fields guy.
Who do you think would be the best fit for Justin Fields?
Damn, I don't know. That's my brother in Christ for sure. I really don't know. I think Atlanta and Pittsburgh have been the two teams that he's been connected to the most. And I think when you look at Atlanta's situation, you got Bijan, you got Tyler, guy I told y'all about. Yeah, slept, Dels.
Who?
What? Nothing. Then you got Drake
Tyler
London. Then you got Drake London. And the offensive line is meh. But you got Justin Fields who can bring a different dynamic to the offense. He can bring a guy who can, give you 1K rushing. That has improved slightly as a passer over the couple years. And then you look at Pittsburgh, veteran coach, and Mike Tomlin. You got George Pickens who, strangely enough, got 1K. It was looking like he didn't, but then he ended up getting it. Then you got Najee, you got Warren, you got Deontay Johnson, you got Pat. Then they just drafted another tight end, Darnell, last year. So, and then you got a defense that's pretty solid. You got a team that can legitimately make the playoffs every year because they always give you a fight. So, but you're also in the division with the Bengals, the Ravens. So it's like the scenario for me, I think Justin Fields should go to. I think it's Pittsburgh. I think because when you look at Pittsburgh, you look at Mike Tomlin as a coach. He's one of the best coaches in the league. He's a guy who's been here a long time. He's seen the game evolve and change. He's seen all different types of quarterbacks. So he has that different type of knowledge, that different type of information that other coaches just can't give you. And I know Atlanta's, they just took out Arthur Smith. That offense is young and flashy, and I understand that's a young team in the NFC that's looking to make something go. But I think in Pittsburgh, the culture they've built, the culture they've set. Justin Fields in Chicago, he was a leader. His teammates vouched for him. Teammates loved him. And the way he goes about his business is all work, no play. So you go to Pittsburgh, you come into a foundation that wants to win. They have Mike Tomlin. You got a couple guys out there that could throw the ball, that you could throw the ball to, a solid team. I think for him, that would be the best because, remember, he didn't really have a rookie year. So he's essentially going in. He had last year. The team didn't put the best teams around him, but he also didn't have the best success with it himself. Last year he played solid. The year before he broke the rushing record, or he was on pace to do it. Yeah, so he was having a great rushing year, but as a passer, he's been very sporadic. So I think for me, just Pittsburgh would help his developmental process because I still think he needs a bit more development, and I think it'll help his mindset a little bit more. But, for me, I understand the allure to both teams, but I would prefer Pittsburgh.
I understand where you're coming from, Riv. If I had to go number one of where I could see him having the most success, it would be Atlanta, where you have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier in the backfield, so you have some support there. Offensive line was, I think, better 2 seasons ago than it was last year, or this previous season, but I still think that it's a solid offensive line. If they wanted to address that in this draft, of course, they could do that, where I believe they're at pick 8. They could end up addressing that there. But I would probably bolster up that defense that is trending in the right direction. That defense really is a pretty solid unit. It's just unfortunately they didn't have the quarterback this past season. But Drake London, Kyle Pitts, they did just cut Jonnu Smith. But you probably look for them to add a receiver, potentially also next to Drake London, just continue to bolster up that offense there. Right now they rank 16th in terms of cap space available. Right now, from what I'm reading on Spotrac, they have around $36 million accessible to in this current free agency. And if they were to bring on Justin Fields, I think that would be the spot where he could have the most success because it does have the most talent. But again, the team that I would like to see him go to would be the Washington Commanders. One, for obvious reasons. Sorry, guys. I know I try to keep bias out of this. I want to see the Broncos trade up to number 2, and I want us to get Drake May. But in a world where we can make this work out is you bring in Justin Fields. You don't have to give up a first-round pick to acquire him. That's what I'm going to go off the assumption of. You get a decent trade package from the Denver Broncos where you could be getting potentially either 2 first-round picks and
before you continue.
Okay.
Damn. Sorry, I legitimately want to ask you a question. Washington has pick 2.
They do.
If they trade for Fields, why would they trade if Marvin Harrison still sit right there?
Interesting. I don't know if wide receiver is a desperate need for them.
I don't think they
Curtis
would
Samuel's
pass up
free
on
agent, but
Marvin
we still got
Harris.
Terry and Dotson.
I don't think it's a net.
I don't think so either, but I don't think
I think it'd be kind of wild to trade for Fields and pass up on May.
I agree too, but I think if they do that, I don't think they're not going to pass
That's
up
really
on May
what it's
and
more wild
Harrison.
about, especially because we haven't seen Justin Fields progress as you would like to see
course.
as a passer. But again, given the fact of you would be getting a plethora of assets from the Broncos, you'd be taking on lesser. Let me not say lesser, because of course you're going to have to pay Justin Fields when that time comes. But you'd have multiple future assets. You would put him in a situation where the offensive line's not good. That's number one, but he still has the escapability. You'd have Terry McLaurin there. You'd have Jahan Dotson. Logan Thomas was pretty solid this season. Of course, injury concern is always real with him. But I understand the realistic option would be Atlanta. I want to see Washington because I want to see Drake May over there in Denver. That's me being realistic.
I think there's two different ways Fields could go about this, or whoever's trading for Fields. I think one is the teams we've been all talking about where he could go and start right away.
Oh, yeah.
Steelers, Falcons, Commanders in this kind of insane world that we live in, but teach their
I'm going to
own.
live in it, happily.
But I also think there's a world where in year 4, Justin Fields could kind of have a mini reset to his career, where he could go into a situation where maybe he doesn't have to start this season. He has a $6 million cap hit this year, so cap hit doesn't really bother me in terms of teams with a lot of money. Next year, it does go up to $25 million on his 5th-year option. Now, I look at teams around the league who could potentially be looking for a quarterback or maybe looking for a future answer at quarterback. I look at teams like the Giants. I look at teams like the Rams, the Patriots to a lesser of extent because they don't really have financial commitment to a guy like Daniel Jones, for example. But there's a world where I think the best case scenario is for Justin Fields maybe not sit for the entire season, but maybe not have that pressure to come in and be looked at as a savior, because I already know if he goes to Atlanta, the talks about him getting paired up with Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, having Zach Robinson, Los Angeles Rams offensive mind come in. Listen, last offseason, I think Justin Fields was the most popular pick for MVP on sportsbooks. I don't know on total handle, but just individual bets placed because he had some ridiculous odds like plus 4,000 or something. So the hype around Fields is already real. And then he would go to a new organization who's been desperate for a quarterback, like a team like Atlanta.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best case scenario for him. If he's able to go to a place where he could sit for a few games, maybe even the season, and say, for example, a team like the Rams where, listen, Fields, Stafford's dealt with some injuries in the past. If he gets hurt, you're the guy. If not, we think Stafford's got 1 year left. Here's a 2-year, $30 million contract, a 2-year, $40 million contract where you could set yourself up financially for the next couple of seasons. We could take a bit less of a cap hit this upcoming season. It'll be $25 million in 2025. What if we could lower that to 18 or 17 million? And we're going to give you a chance to be the starting quarterback next year. I think that's a legit opportunity for Justin Fields. The only thing is, whatever team does that is still going to have to give up a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick.
Yep.
Is that team going to be willing to give up that type of draft capital for a guy to not be the guaranteed starter for that season? So from a team aspect, it might be hard to swallow that. But from Justin Fields, in terms of the best path for his career development, that might be the best answer.
You know, Dels, I think you laid out a pretty good plan.
For sure.
For his development, that is.
Yeah.
Because I think if I'm Justin Fields, the only thing you're thinking about at the professional level is, one, how to get in the right situation and play good football. Mm-hmm. And number 2 is how to get paid. Yep. And Justin Fields is not going to get paid sitting behind somebody, watching them for an entire year. Justin Fields is going to get paid by going to a new situation, playing someone well, and getting an extension. I mean, we saw Daniel Jones throw 15 touchdown passes and get $40 million.
He ran for 800 yards.
Okay, 15 passing touchdowns.
Can easily do
Let's
that.
go down to sleep.
Oh, he could do that. So we seen a guy like Justin
Just had
Fields.
26.
If I'm Justin Fields, I'm like, man, all I got to throw is 15 passing touchdowns and
he won
rush
a
for
playoff game.
800,
Has he
and
won a
I
playoff
get
game?
40 mil.
Tell me when a playoff game.
You got it.
He has not won a playoff game. He hasn't been to the playoffs.
See, that's fair.
Outperforming Kirk Cousins.
But like you said, you know, Daniel Jones won a playoff game. So if I'm Justin Fields, I'm like, you know what? From Jewish standards, I got to win a playoff game. I got to get to the
And throw
15
for over
passing
300 yards in that game. And
but
multiple touchdowns.
Number one, I got to get
And
to the
rush for
15.
almost 100 yards.
I got to get to the 15 passing touchdown mark for the season. I don't know what Justin Fields has had the last 2 years. Let me look at his stats real quick. I'm on his website right now. He's had 7 his rookie year, 17 his second year, 16 his third year, and he hasn't even played all games in those respective seasons. So, you know, Justin Fields already has one of those
Sounds like
boxes
Daniel Jones,
checked
unfortunately.
off. Yeah, he already has one of the boxes checked off.
In terms of not being healthy.
So what place can Fields go to go to that gives him the best chance to succeed at a high level, I think it's Atlanta. He's from Atlanta. He's a hometown kid. He's from there. He joked about going to Atlanta and having his phone jumping. It wouldn't be the best thing because he's from there and he would get asked a lot for tickets. But they have Bijan Robinson. They have Drake London. They have Kyle Pitts. They have great weapons. They have the 18th ranked defense, even though I think the number doesn't speak to how great they were because they were top 10 in pass and rush success rate, and they were top 10 against the pass. They have $32 million in cap space. They have the 8th overall pick, and you're in a division where Tampa Bay is a huge question mark. We don't know what Tampa Bay is going to do. If they re-sign Baker and Mike Evans and Antoine Winfield and they bring everybody back and Levante David, it's a good team, but it's still a division you can win. Carolina, are we expecting a big leap? Yeah. Are we expecting a big leap from Carolina? No. I'm not sure. They still need a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football. And the Saints are just a middling team. They restructured Derek Carr's contract, which now guarantees him as a starter next year. That just goes to show you how backed up they are in their cap that they have to kind of promise Carr a starting spot just to get cap reliant.
They already have negative $50 million in cap for 2025.
Yeah, like they're, the Saints have been pushing back a rebuild for years. At this point, it's just a negative thing for them, just sticking with this middling team. But the Falcons, if they get Fields, they get some stability at quarterback, if Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson and the staff don't like the quarterback options they have, which likely you're going to have, Caleb and May are gone. So it's between Jaden Daniels, and that's a question mark if he's going to make it there. And then, then it's the J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix guys. If they aren't in level one of those guys, then Justin Fields could be that stopgap quarterback, and they could make the playoffs next year and win a playoff game like Daniel Jones. Maybe not throw for 300 yards. I'm not sure if Fields is going to face one of the worst ranked defenses in the history that I've seen in the NFL. But he might play well. Who knows?
You saw Raheem Morris, what he said. I don't know what the reporter asked him, but he basically said, if we had better quarterback play, I wouldn't be standing at this podium right now.
That's true.
Raheem Morris talking about Desmond Ridder / Taylor Heineke.
Shit. The Falcons should have been better last year, bro.
They should have. The quarterbacks were so mid.
The defense made a huge leap, and the offense regressed tremendously. Yeah. And they still were in. They were in distance of the NFC South, so I think Fields has the best chance to win in Atlanta. And I love your plan because he can develop and he can become better as a quarterback. But I'm kind of thinking of it as from the standpoint of, he wants to get paid, and that contract is up. And this next year, whichever team he plays for, is a big year for him financially.